Hey guys, and welcome to this week's webinar, Cash Flow Digital. I think we have named it. Can't remember who came up with that. I think it was Mike or Brad, but we'll call it the Cash Flow Digital webinar, where we're going to be talking about different stuff every week. And this week, we're going to be talking about link building. And we have the guys from last week, Mr. Mike Pierce and Brad Mabry. And we are joined by Mr. Gary Wilson from Get Me Links, who I'm sure also needs no introduction to...
Say young Gary real quick for us, Craig. Say young Gary.
Young Gary.
There we go. I love
it. So Gary is on. He'll be sharing a bit about the links he does. And obviously Mike and Brad, doing what they do and all the experience they've got alongside myself, we should be able to give you a hell of a lot of information on link building. We were supposed to be joined by Chris Palmer. He may still jump in the show, but I'm not sure if something has happened or he slept in or whatever it may be. However, we will just get on and talk about link building. We will be taking questions from the public. We've got Craig Mullins there. You're calling Gary Wilson a legend, Craig. You went down in my estimation.
He's smart. He's a smart guy.
Also, before we start with any conversation, SEO Autopilot have allowed me to give away a free lifetime license to the tool. And that is to try and encourage people to like and subscribe and all of that kind of stuff to the channel. But to make sure that we know who you are, if you can just fill out, and I've put it in the live chat, and there is a link in the first comment, if you can just fill out your email address on there so that we can select you from that particular database. And we will be announcing the winner in the next couple of days. It's worth, I think, $1,000 or something like that. So it's a great tool, certainly using it as part of your tiered link building strategy and stuff like that. But we won't waste any more time talking about SEO Autopilot. We will talk about actual link building strategies. And Mike, we'll start.
Real quick, I wanted to make an announcement. There's been a lot of volatility over the last few days. It's down today about 200%. So if you are doing your on page, this is a good day to be doing it. It's pretty safe right now. So after the webinar, get out there and start optimizing. This is when I'm going to be pushing shit right now too. So keep going.
They're making some GMV updates too. I noticed just dashboard type stuff. So that's usually goes together.
Let's see.
Problem.
Paul has a question there, Craig.
Yeah, Paul Ogden. He actually said this webinar was going to be a humdinger, and he didn't believe I actually had the audacity to say humdinger on a webinar. There you go, Paul. So, guys, how many link building tiers do you guys use? Because you guys, Mike and Brad, you guys are killing it in America, which is a hell of a lot more competitive than, say, the UK, for example, or across Europe. So what are you guys doing in terms of tiered link building? You give us a bit of a picture on that.
Yeah, I mean, we really are, no matter what we're pushing, I am always pushing 3 tiers underneath my targets. And over at Gary's site, there is a package that's the one that exactly what I use 100% of the time is tiered. So basically, we'll talk about the target. There's one link. I don't usually push too many to the target. Underneath that, I will always go.
Where you overdo it is going directly to the target. So we try and limit it there and then add power behind it.
So it's basically, we're going to look at link building, but it's very simple right now. It's going to be what pages are saying about pages that are talking about you, right? It's like when Brad's talking to a girl about me, I look better than if I'm talking about myself, right? So it's link building. It's simple. It's that you're at the bar and you're building links, right? So they're edges. I mean, it's like social networks and everything too. But so whatever starts talking about you right here, and they're talking about you over here. What's coming over behind this right here? I don't have anything to draw off with you right now, but this way, if you're going down 3 tiers, you've got your first set of links. Say, let's take 4 on the first tier or 2 on the first tier. So we've got 2 links pointing to your target, right? And those are, of course, going to be relevant. And then underneath those 2 links, each of those links are going to have 2 links pointing at them, right? So you've got 2 links pointing at one link that's pointing at your target, then 2 links pointing at another link that's pointing at your target. And then underneath that, where you have those 4 links on the second tier, 2 links are pointing to each one of those links right there. So you're basically taking a multiplier that you know from your testing in your market that works for you, and you're just multiplying that down in your tiers. So when you do this, what happens at the top tier of your pyramid, however you want to call it, your triangle, you have the links that you control that you've built, which is, say, let's take like 2. We'll just use the 2 example again. You've built 2 links, and you're going to go ahead and build those and optimize those to rank. You're going to build those with commercial, whatnot, because you've already built your entity, right? We talked about that last week. You have an entity that you built around that. It's talking about just your website. It's just your social presence online. Let's call it that for right now. So those 2 links that you've built now become, if you have 10 links that are in your social profile, that's 2 out of 12 links that you've optimized and controlled. So this is going to happen naturally, right? So you're not going out there and building your whole profile. You're letting your profile happen naturally, and you're manipulating your profile where you know you need to manipulate it. I hope that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said there, Mike. Like, and in terms of kind of figuring out how many to build, that's usually down to competition. Again, like I really like to do what Mike's saying. Like one of the package we sell is multiple stacked tiered links. I'm not a big fan of coming in and hitting a tier 1 link with a crap ton of links directly to that page. You can cause problems for the page if you do that, especially if you fuck up the relevance or something like that. So I like to do what Mike's saying, do a very small amount of links, kind of tier behind those. And in terms of figuring out how heavy to do that, because you can get single, tiered linking packages as well, which sort of stack. This really just comes down to competition. I mean, we recently released a link building link report, which is an auditing service, which actually we analyze tiered links as well of competition to see how many you actually need. So that's something you could check out as well if you don't know much about that. I have a free link building course as well where I talk specifically about tiered linking auditing as well. You can grab that shit, sign up to my email list, and you get that for free. But I think exactly what Mike's saying, it's really about quality over quantity now. Tier 1, tier 2 is the same thing, and I like to really build it. Tier 3 is Mike's saying too, to really power that just right behind everything, so that you're not absolutely spamming the life out of your tier 1 links in the morning.
Absolutely. And I guess that gets us into one of the most important things about link building, which is the damn crawler of the bot mechanism. And we mentioned it just a little bit last week with progressive and incremental crawling, but let's just look at it really quickly. And if you have a page that you built, say you bought a guest post on a somewhat decent site, you don't know what that crawl budget is, right? You have no idea how much of that website gets crawled, how much is going to get in the index. So you don't know what kind of juice you're going to get from that freaking website, right? However, if you start to throw links underneath it that you know are already indexed in Google's index, right? And they're in the database for Google, well, then you now have a very good chance that those links that are already indexed are going to send a bot over to your guest post that you've done, which is going to now be indexed, which is now going to pass the juice of that site. So now all of a sudden you're kicking in everything that Google knows about that website, every page that they've indexed, they have all that juice. Now they can do their math, they can put it on that page that is now in the index and in the database, which can now flow to your page, right? So that is why tiered link building, no matter what anybody says, is extremely important. The web does not work without tiers. If you look at any of the patents and anything, you cannot have an internet and a crawler without websites linking to each other. And when people start talking about link building will die, it's just not true. It's never going to go away. It will always be there in some form. And I'll say that to anybody out there. And if they say that it's not true, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's just, I mean, Google's got to find a page. If you're trying to get, people need to remember this when they're buying a guest post or something in the niche edit, the page that you're getting on, yes, really relevant. It's on a big site very often. And, that site's very credible, but people actually forget that there's not a lot of there's not any page authority there. If you're putting a brand new post on a page, there's no juice going to that other than maybe a few internal links that page is getting. So by essentially building tiered links behind that, you're massively amplifying the page because Google's saying the site's huge, plus you're linking to that right page, validating the page, and as you said earlier, giving it some relationship points, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
absolutely validates that link and makes it massively more powerful.
Well, let's use we can use like let's use Etsy for an example. When my wife started her Etsy business, which it's pretty freaking old now and makes decent money. What I did is I went out and I built 50 accounts around that were liking her products and everything, and then you go ahead and scrape all those URLs, right? So now you have a set of 58, say you have 8 products, you have maybe 58 to 64 freaking pages from Etsy that now you can go hit with links, and you're going to have this little cluster of pages that are relevant to that product that you're now hitting with relevant links underneath it. And that's going to magnify that little cluster, right? So that little cluster now has been made more buoyant. It's popping up in Google's eyes. It's highlighted for Google. So you got the book in the highlighter. So it's highlighted for Google. And now you're actually going to be able to use the internal structure of the website to rank your products in Google. We're not talking about the algorithm in Etsy. That's a different story. It's more CTR based, but you definitely want to look at websites and internal architecture as part of your link building, and then enhance that with tier packages wherever you can get them. Because I'll tell you, buying them is much easier than building them. There are people out there that still smash it with freaking SIR and things like that. But you have to have an amazing list of servers and all this crap that is a pain in the ass to do. It's much easier for me to go, hey, young Gary, I need some links, right? So I'm a big proponent of buying links. And to me, there's no easier way to do it. If you can, and I think Brad will really agree with this. Like once you're buying links, you have you can calculate your ROI on everything once you're buying.
And it's scalable.
Exactly.
If you get sucked into using like GSA SER that you mentioned, if you get sucked into using that, that's like a full-time job, and that's not what I'm about. I'd rather have XYZ when I bring on a client or start a new project. Okay, I'm gonna have the content writer build this and post it. Then that's gonna go into this sheet, and I can take that sheet and place my link order, and that's done. If you have a content plus linking plan for like a larger national client, then you just set that system up and have your link builder just pull from the sheet that your content writer is posting, and then it's just all on autopilot essentially for you. Once you get the cogs in place.
I mean, scalability is the most important thing in the world. And I've been on a lot of calls with clients that we work with that I've got so much stuff going on in the business, and it really, what it does come down to is just a simple calculation. Like usually when you're a business owner and you have a business, there's going to be an area or a few areas inside that business that you are exceptionally good at growing. So for some people, maybe their product is just excellent because they're so good at creating products and design or whatever. Some people, it's maybe doing the marketing, doing their ads, or doing ads copy or whatever. So there's different people that have different skill sets in a business. Now, if your skill set is building links, that probably means you're going to be able to get your link costs down if you do it in-house. But for majority of people, they don't have that, right? And what they need to do is they need to weigh up the cost of executing scaling link building, which is going to be staff costs, it's going to be time that you're going to spend to manage people. There's going to be VAs you need to hire. There's going to be a lot of stuff you're going to have to take into consideration if you go and build your own links, especially on tiered links, because you're just building a massive amount of those to really get that power through. It's a lot to manage. So people have got to weigh up where their expertise are in their business and ultimately focus on those. If you go all in and just spend your time on all the things you're excellent at and then outsource the rest, the best way you're going to be able to scale. So because by the time you execute it in-house, I spoke to so many like agencies or companies that are like, we want to do it in-house and we want to save costs. And yeah, maybe their link costs are down, but then you actually add up their staff costs to execute that. They've got a manager here, they've got free link builders here, they've got prospects here, and then you add it all up and I'm like, you're building 80 links a month, but you're paying 10 grand in staff costs to do that. Plus you're having to manage that manager, right? As you could just spend, 2/3 of that money over and just buying the link somewhere else. Yeah, you're going to pay more than having great internal systems, but it ultimately means you don't need to manage any of that. You don't need to have any fixed costs. You can just like grow and scale really, really easily with the fixed costs every month, whatever you want, So
I'm always against hiring more staff, at least initially. If you can do it without staff, without anyone, maybe one partner, and you guys can outsource everything, then it's just 100 times easier. Managing people sucks. So
for sure. And the aim of this game, especially in the online world, it's about not having fixed costs. A lot of people forget that. Like I saw the people who really got hit when the COVID thing came were people that had really high fixed staff costs or high fixed office costs or whatever. Those were the guys that suffered because they went from a 200K a month business, for example, with 100K in staff costs, their business in fixed costs, and their business halved, and they've still got the 100K in costs, right? As with if you had maybe 10K in staff and the rest of your costs were variable, it would have meant when your sales dropped from 200K to 100K, you would have been fine because you could have just chunked out tons of variable costs that are only there for actually paying for the fulfillment of those clients, right? So people sometimes forget that and they think it's just numbers, but really you've got to, separate a fixed. Like, I hate hiring staff or hate taking on things I have to pay for, because it's like if my business ever does go down in this world, if you're not expecting your online business to drop at some point or kind of go a bit mad, like, you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like, this game is like, you can make so much money very, very quickly and do insanely well in this game, but it can go the other way just as quick. It's extremely volatile. It's not like owning a flower shop where you've got a bunch of consistent clients and it's quite easy going all year round. It's extremely volatile, which gives you high risk and high reward essentially. So people need to take that into consideration and not take on all those fixed costs and really cause.
I think we can agree. We don't want to keep repeating about fixed costs and waffling about a couple of the garbage. It's a link building webinar, Gary. We need to jump on. It's. I think we can all agree scaling up and outsourcing is the way to go. We can keep it as condensed as that, but we don't want to see people start to drop out with waffle there. So we'll try and go through some questions.
This one from Stephen Stewart is sorry, Craig, go ahead.
I was going to say, Gary, is there a guy that where would someone sign up for that list you mentioned?
If you just go on getmelinks.com, you should get a pop-up within like 10 seconds. They can just put their email in.
Go there just to cover that off. Cool.
Yeah.
Also, Alice, it's only the second show, we may or may not have a woman, but we don't get bullied into that by the women brigade who are always like, why is there not a woman on there?
We're working our way there. Last week it was the three of us, and this week we invited Gary. So we feel like we're a step closer to having a woman.
Yeah. So one thing I hate now is seeing a girl always jumping on the bandwagon saying, why is there no other females on here? Dude, it's only the second bloody show. Give us a rest. But
any female SEO experts or anything, if you want to hop on, reach out to Craig.
Reach out, yeah.
I just don't know that many, to be honest.
We're going to have different guests every week. We're obviously, Gary's a link builder, link building. We'll have Holly Starks and crazy other people who do different things. So yes, we will have females on there.
And we'll have
Fletch, who is also borderline woman.
I know Fletch.
Stephen Stewart has a good question in there, though. I want to pop that because I want to make a point on it. It's a good question. It's right on
e-commerce.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good question. So they're the same, right? You really have to look at link building like a user experience thing. It's all traffic based. Everything from the freaking web, whether it's link building or it's CTR, it's metric manipulation, you're always manipulating that user. The reason you build a link is because a user can click on it and come to your website. So that said, yes, you're going to want to take advantage of everything you can in your arsenal. If you're buying paid ads, I will say, and I think Marco always says this as well, is that if you're buying AdWords to a page, if you're link building to a page and you're buying AdWords to a page, we'll put aside all the ranking benefit from shit like that, but talk about the safety benefit from it. You are now a customer of Google. You are now somebody who puts money in Google's pocket. It is always going to be beneficial for you to put money in Google's pocket. And that is the basis of the conversations that we had before, RYS and all that stuff started coming out from them. And it is extremely important to keep that in mind. Google loves to know what the hell's going on. So the more transparent you can be and the more beneficial for them you can be, the safer your campaigns will be. So yes, and now if people want to get into the metric part of link building, we can, but I would always be doing your on-page, your link building, and paid advertising. I mean, I'm always going to start an e-commerce campaign with paid ads. I mean, there's no question in that. I mean, it's just quicker to revenue.
Yeah. Also, we've got Gregory Burke here. I understand that tiers are an effort to disguise or manipulate the algorithm. Isn't it unnatural or detectable for all your links to have a pyramid beneath them?
Is it more unnatural? Is it more unnatural to have a web of edges underneath your page, or is it more unnatural to have a whole bunch of brand new posts under your page? that don't have anything linking to them? Which one is more unnatural to you? Because I'll tell you, the one with its brand new posts or guest posts or whatnot and nothing underneath it, that's pretty damn much of a pattern to me and very unnatural looking.
And what I would say back to that as well is go and look at some real natural websites. Go and stick Amazon into Ahrefs or SEMrush or whatever and take a look at how many of their links have links going to them. It's extremely natural for people to link to. Essentially, like a link is just a signal to say that the other page that it's linking to is a good site. That's essentially, like, in basic terms, what it is. So by you linking from another site, linking at a tiered level, you're just saying that the links you've got are good. That's all you're doing. So it's extremely natural. It happens all the time. People are so scared about, building links and it causing issues. It's like, actually just build the links and you'll get more results doing that and sit worrying about building them, So it's just the way it works. Go and look at real websites. You'll see tons of tiered links happening all the time, very, very naturally. It's definitely something you want to be doing if you're trying to manipulate things as an SEO.
Also, if I'm implementing guest posts into my strategy, what is the ultimate goal of those guest posts aside from pushing rankings? I want to pull in traffic, like Mike said, right? Because it's linking traffic content. So I want to, when I put in an order for a guest post, I want to try and optimize it as much as possible for a longer tail national level keyword. So say we're doing rehab. I might build a page about drug rehab, like plus a city. And then I'll find a long tail drug rehab, like very specific term. That's what the guest post is going to be. And then I'm coming behind that with tiers. So hopefully on a national level, long tail level, I can rank that guest post. It's going to bring in traffic. It's going to get clicks back to my website ultimately. And that's going to just boost it that much more. So if you treat everything like a money site, just in general, then your entire SEO game is going to come up.
For sure.
On that note, what I will say is if you are familiar with what seed sites are and seed sets and everything are, there's a link graph, right? And say you have a website number one that Google trusts implicitly. And to me, Google's going to trust something like Bing or something like Yahoo or DuckDuckGo before it trusts my website, right? So if you have your link here that's pointing to you and it's in freaking Google or it's in DuckDuckGo, now you not only, this has a lot of implications because now it's going to get traffic, which is going to make ranking, but also it's getting trust from the fact that it's in another search engine for Google. There's many, many reasons to build links to your links. And what happens is people get stuck on these lists and tools where they're just building all this stuff. And that's why it's really easy for Google to go through and say, okay, we're just going to chop off all these subdomains because Web 2.0 always uses these subdomains and we're not going to give them the weight that we want unless there's another factor with it. And then that might be a freaking ranking factor. They see it in somewhere else or they see traffic on it, right? So it's not just one or the other. They can discredit or credit something based on other rank score modifiers. And those rank score modifiers might be traffic. They might be links from a certain set of websites, AKA DuckDuckGo, freaking Yahoo, something like that, right? It just is very important to understand. There's a book called Link Building by Eric Ward. And I think, it's sad that he's gone now because he was like the first freaking real, to me, he's the link builder. All the guys that came, Stewart, all those guys that did all the outreach stuff after him, they were just following in his footsteps and they've read his book. I mean, you can make a course off of that book. So if you've never read Link Building by Eric Ward, I'd really recommend it because it will give you an outlook without having to dig through patents of how edges work and how social networks work. So researching social networks and researching like Eric Ward's writings are a very good way to get familiar with link building. And then once you know that, now you can go in and start manipulating like Gary, like Craig and Brad, right? So get the research done and save yourself some time by reading a book by an expert like Eric Ward or something like that. And then go from there and start building your strategies off of that if you really want to get to the point where you're actually experimenting. And experimenting, we're going to keep saying this, is the only way you're not going to stagnate. The only way you're going to be ahead of Brad and Gary or Craig in SEO is if you're out there doing things that someone else isn't telling you to do and you're trying things and you're experimenting, right? Yeah. So it's important. Do your research, read, and then experiment.
I've got a question, right? So you guys, and including Gary in this as well, launch your own projects. Now, it's just for the audience, just so that the audience get a picture of what the likely spend is going to be. So when, Brad or Mike or Gary, when you launch a project, what do you put aside for link building costs just at the start of a campaign? You know, just say you're launching a new website, you know, that sells, you know, boxing gloves or whatever. You know, what is your initial investment? You know, roughly, and I know it depends niche to niche, but just to give those out there an idea of how much you're putting in at the start. You know, what does your strategy look like, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, it does depend a lot on the niche. Usually at the very start of a campaign, I'm going to try and build some socials, or I'm going to build some citations from like Citation Builder. And I'm going to build some good foundation links, really build up my socials. Talk about, like Mike and Brad last week, talking about entities. That's really where I'm starting. I'm building a real business to start, and I'm building the real, you know, foundational links that, you know, anyone's going to want to see to validate if that was a real business. You would want to see a business, a Facebook page, for example, just to tell that that's a real site. So I'm going to start there, and then what I'm going to do is, I mean, a lot of people like forget this with link building is they come in and they just start hitting links and they throw thousands at it, and it's a bit like to me it's a bit like building like a house without plans, right? So many people come in and spend so much money on the link building, and they're not actually, you know, don't have any plans in place. So I like to really get a glance at competition. If I'm doing this very broadly, I'll glance at competition, and I'll get an idea for the kind of RD count, the good RD counts that those sites have. I think in a lot of local spaces, you're going to need, you know, some local space you could do it in, you know, less than like 10 links, but if you're going into national big affiliate sites, you can be 100, 200 links plus and spending tens of thousands to achieve a really good affiliate site. And a lot of these guys on the groups that are starting affiliate sites are not aware of the tens of thousands that you can actually spend and have to invest in order to hit those niches. But I'm going to really get an overall authority idea about how many links I'm going to need. This was one of the reasons I actually made the link report recently on my site, which kind of helps people analyze this because they don't really know. But having a plan in place, knowing how much you need to spend on that particular niche is really where I go after that once I build that foundation.
Yeah, and sorry. So essentially, there's always going to be a number I'm looking at when we do if we're going to sell links or if we're going to launch a project, we're going to know what content we're putting out. So we're going to have a content map. We're going to have a link map. And I'm going to know that I'm going to go out. We're going to build the entity like exactly. It's pretty much the same thing that Gary's saying. And we're going to say, okay, we're going to pick 4 for this example. In my market, I need 4 freaking really decent links pointing to my pages to rank. So I know that I need 4 at that top level. Now I can do my math off of that. So if I have 10 posts, I need 4 links. That's 40 top tier tier 1 posts, right? I need those links. I need those edges. Then I need 4 underneath all of those, right? So now I'm multiplying the second tier by 4. And that's my budget right there. And then on my third, I'm going to multiply it by 4 again. And people start to go. I just had a conversation with somebody like, well, that's one page. I'm ranking for one keyword, but that's like $200, $400 for that one page. And you have to start thinking about when you start to do this right, you're not ranking for one keyword. You're ranking for maybe 800 keywords on a page. Right. And it's not impossible to do. You can easily rank for 800 keywords with 500 words if you do this correctly. If you do your on-page correctly, if you do your link building correctly, you can, I mean, we've seen it. I can't tell how many times, Brad, how many times have we seen this shit happen where you do a site right?
For bigger projects that we've done it with, it's like 4 or 5 of the larger projects that we've seen it like 100% growth.
First month, on an individual level, I think the most I've ever seen is maybe 800 to 1,200 keywords for 500 words, right?
Yeah.
But it's not uncommon to see a go in and start optimizing a page and do the link building for it, to see it go from like 5 or 10 keywords pulling in traffic to a couple hundred keywords pulling in traffic or 100 keywords pulling in traffic, right? Yeah. So when you start to couple that all the link building correctly with lexiconical stuffing, then you're doing a perfect storm basically.
For sure.
And if you were in any market, whether you're in America, there was obviously Carolina here talking about conquering the Brazilian market with link building. Is that strategy, regardless of where you guys go, pretty much the same? I want 3 or 5 or whatever, and then just multiple.
I don't worry about language. I don't worry about language when I link build. I will build links to a Brazilian site with English. And vice versa if they're relevant. And
we're more worried about relevance than anything.
House is relevant to Casa, and it's just this is a language barrier, but they're still a relevant entity. So.
And Gary, for you, in terms of guys that are buying links and stuff like that, is that the same across, the globe? Essentially people are just going for relevance. They're not giving a shit about, it has to be a Brazilian
For
link.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I actually did a post on this on my blog about 2 weeks ago. What I like to do is I like to really like do things as kind of naturally as possible and as white as possible. If you actually go and search in the Brazilian market or most markets, you'll actually see that the majority or wide variety of the sites, very large percentage of the sites probably in those markets actually are in English. Google understands English very well, and a lot of these sites have a huge amount of links already. So you're going to get away with that yourself. I like to sometimes try and mix in some foreign links, especially if I'm doing a big site in one of those spaces, just to kind of fit in. But you will absolutely, I mean, Google does not understand relevancy as well in the foreign SERPs. They barely even understand English fully yet, so they don't understand Brazilian on these languages properly. So you're going to get away with smashing English links at those sites all day long. But if you really want to fit in, again, just look at your competition, mirror along the lines of what they're doing. You'll see that they're doing English links, and you'll be able to get away with that yourself. So yeah, I would do English links all day long.
Cool. No, it's interesting because you always hear people saying, like, I need German links, and they obsess over it, so I was always just curious, as because you're selling to the bloody masses out there, so I was curious to know what the general public are doing.
Yeah.
But give me a second. I'm pretty sure we had another good question there.
While you're doing that, Craig, there's a question about how do I get started doing link building. The book is called Ultimate Guide to Link Building: How to Build Website Authority, Increase Traffic, and Search Ranking with Backlinks by Eric Ward and Garrett French. It's a great start to read.
That, and then Gary has his free course on his site.
And Gary's course, I would do the course there, and I would read a book too. Reading a book and doing an online digital course where it's its current knowledge. The book is going to give you like background knowledge over the past 20 years, whatever it's been, and you're going to now get current knowledge from Gary. So that's what I would do if you've never touched it before. I would take that action. I jump over to Gary's site, jump into that training, and then jump into a book if you want to get some deeper stuff.
Sure.
That's old.
I agree with all that.
If you want to buy links, whether it's guest posts, tiered link building, anything like that, then hop over to getmelinks.com, which is Gary's website. Not just because he's on the show or anything like that. Gary has done a good solid job for many people across the industry, and someone I can highly recommend, and as I'm sure Mike and Brad can also recommend.
Yeah, that's where we go. Yeah.
So go over to Get Me Links. There's a lot of guys selling stuff out there, but I think Gary, with everything that you are offering, the tiered link building and everything else, it used to be just, obviously Get Me Links was just a guest post place, but it's adding all those little extras on that are making a difference in doing the strategies that successful guys like Mike and Brad are doing. Building those tiers underneath is what's making your business grow as well, because people are like, fuck, these links really work.
Those are the only links I use, are those packages at Get Me Links. Those tiered packages are on everything that I freaking link build. They're the exact same. That's what I do.
Yeah. It's just a money. So regardless of whether you're an agency or whatever, just go on there, buy up, and make as much money as you can or whatever. So there you go. We've got Shakila. Please reply this. I don't remember seeing anything. But guys, keep asking questions. Put them in the live chat. We want to help you guys build better links. But Shakila was asking, in ASO, do I really need off-page activities? I mean, the topic is off-page link building, and of course, I'm pretty sure Brad and Mike.
If that's Amazon search, if that's Amazon and Google, I would say stay away from ranking your damn Amazon products until you know how they convert. And we'll just stop it there right now. So don't rank your Amazon pages in Google until you know that those keywords are converting for you.
Yes. Highly recommended. So what are the biggest key link building keys for local SEO when it comes to locally? It's surely not going to be as aggressive as what doing all these kind of tiered things. So what is your local SEO strategy like in comparison with what we've just spoke about?
Relevance, if you can get it. Yeah. Relevance. You do a base citation order. you're getting, you're getting that out of the way. You've got your entity there. That's the same for any site. And then if you can get, like, if you're going after plumber SEO, if you can get links from sites that are specifically about plumbing, that's always good. If you can get sites that are specifically based in the location that you're pushing for, say Chicago, Anaheim, whatever, then that's always good. And then, that's about it.
Yeah. For sure.
And remember that you're still also going to be ranking for organic stuff as well. So, I like to say that stupid word organic, but you're not only ranking for organic if you're doing a full website underneath it. So we had a financial space it was a client that had 800 plus locations. And so those locations each had a landing page on a subdomain, right? And every month, of course, we're going to go through and hit a certain amount of those locations based on what they're going to pay us, with a certain amount of links and tiers underneath those links. And that's going to basically funnel up the listings. It's going to funnel up the website. And I did funnel it up for top 10, I would say top 5 CPC competitive terms. I mean, we're talking national rankings. We're talking local
large
rankings.
Cities too. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it's right now. I think in the last week, it's up about 12%. Yeah, 13% increase in that campaign, with just what we're talking about, tiered link building and the listings as the main focus for pulling in calls and revenue.
Yeah.
So.
Also, you want to hit other pages on the site if you're doing local. Say, whenever I do local, I typically do multi-location unless it's just a one-page lander. So if you do have a multi-location site, so a plumber with 12 locations, you're going to want to build various hubs and various pages across the site that then disperse link juice to the location pages. Then you've got more targets to hit those. So I always start with a locations page. I'll have my map, my NAP, a link to the specific page, everything on there, and then I can hit that page with links. I can link from the primary menu to that, and then it just passes juice to there. So look at internal linking as well to maximize your external linking budget.
For sure. Yeah, I think that was something I wanted to add earlier, is that a lot of people, they forget that by building links around their site, they're helping the whole site and the other pages on the site. A lot of people think, if I link to that location on that website, it's only helping that location. You're extremely wrong. You're actually theming up the whole topic for your entire website. Google's seeing the link coming in there, and they're going to see in all your other pages as well. So important to really keep that in mind for local as well.
And so Quantum Newswire, so our partner G, basically I have an account, I have a platinum account. That's a lifetime account, unlimited push, right? And for our listings, we use it. We don't use it for like if we're going to go after a hardcore link building campaign, but when we put a listing up in various campaigns, then that listing is going to be pushed through a press service because again, all of our I think that campaign, when it was pushing, I don't know how many listings, but it had 2,500 to 3,000 websites in it. And those have listings attached to them. And then that pushes the listings along with the website. So the website technically is link building for your listing in my mind when it comes to local, right? So you're doing your website in local if you're doing like a Brad shotgun method or something like that, because you want to rank the listing more than that page. The page is there for relevance and capturing any fall off data that you can sell. The page pushes
the listing in most cases for local, in my opinion.
The money is the listing. The money's not the page.
That's where the calls are going to come from.
Right.
Cool. Ashton Lobo, if he has a particular budget, 1 Forbes link or 20 relevant guest posts to his niche website, what would be more effective?
4 guest posts and then tier behind that.
Yeah, 4 guest posts. And then tiers.
Yeah, or 3 guest posts and then tiers, whatever. Yeah.
Can I just ask something here as well, Gary? When someone comes to you, like Ashton Lobo, for example, and he says, dude, I just want to buy 20 guest posts, I've got enough budget for it, sort me out. Is that something you say, hey, hang on a minute, we can do better than this? We can do, what the guys are saying there, like 4 guest posts or 5 guest posts. And is that something you do as a service?
For sure. So that's why more recently we launched the link report, because I mean before we didn't really do that. We were just more of we looked at ourselves as more like an e-commerce business. People just came to us, bought the product, and really the only people that were getting best results from us were people who, like Brad and Mike and whatever, who knew what the hell they were buying and what to buy and where to put it. A lot of people would come in and buy guest posts thinking that's all they need, when they need tiered links as well, and they wouldn't have a clue. So that's why we've done the report now, to kind of help people and guide them. Very often when someone comes in with a big budget, we say buy the report. It's a few $100, you get the money back in credit anyway, so it's free if they're going to buy links, and it's going to give them an idea on what tiered links to build, what guest posts to build based on their competition. So that's generally how we do it now. We've systemized that help out for everyone, which makes it a lot easier for people like that to buy.
I was just curious because I was talking to Ryan Durrani today, and he was like, so it's just a case of buying links. And I'm like, well, yeah, but no, there's something else behind that,
Yeah.
That comes down to experience that money
There's knowledge there,
yeah. More is not better. Better is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If we're going to say quality, quantity is quality. No, quality is not quantity necessarily, depending on where you are.
On that Forbes link question as well, what I'll say is, like, a lot of people get so caught up in getting on like websites that they know, like Forbes, New York Times, and all this stuff. They forget that there's tons of other websites out there with a huge link profile that Google crawls all the time, that are just as good. So but buying links that are cheaper, not those like editorial links, going to work just as well. Especially if you're going to build tiered links behind them, they're going to be much more powerful than just a single Forbes link, no links going to it.
And there's Mr. Durrani. So if I say
this is extremely important. So there's other questions as well about the social and everything. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but if you have the opportunity you want to build a link to your target, you want to build it to your social, you want to build it to other pages that are pointing to your page, because now, you have a tiered structure that's also kind of branching out, kind of like with arms to a web underneath you. So your tier 1 link might also be your tier 2 link. If that makes sense. Don't
smash your site. Like people need to realize, especially with local, you want to be like I like to say, tapping your site. Especially if you're hitting enter page. A lot of people come in and like, oh, I want to rank for Plumbers Dallas or something like that, and then they go and hit that page 14 times in like a month. And it's like, that's so dumb. Like, everyone else has got 6 links ranking for that. Your site has no other authority. You've just tried to basically push this one page. It's so unnatural. You've done it so quickly. It's like, yeah, that's not how you do it. What you do is you tap lots of pages in your site that are all related for one cluster, for one topic, and you tier behind those, make those links really good. Try and rank those links as well. You're focusing on a very small amount of links, but quality, and you're trying to do that over a very long period of time. Build out this plan. Like I talk about link velocity in the blog as well. Like, build out a plan for a year. Don't look at things in 2 weeks. You're not going to rank in 2 weeks. If you're building a big site like that, you're trying to get big terms. Build yourself a 6-month, 12-month plan. Tap the links to lots of different pages. Spread it about. Hit your homepage a huge amount of times as well. Theme up your site for the topic, and that is going to help you rank for lots of pages across the site. And just
link maps are extremely important. What Gary just said, link maps, I'm going to say it again. If you need to map out your links, you need to map out if you're going to publish over time, map your content out ahead of time, map out the links you're going to build, map out your anchor text you're going to build, because you are an SEO, you're strategic, and you're going to know what you're going to do with that website. You're not just going to go, oh, I'm interested in this today for this website, I'm going to write a post and not know what you're doing. You're going to know this ahead of time, right? You're going to do this ahead of time. You're going to have your anchors built ahead of time. You know what you're going to do before you're going to do it. Yeah. You're not just going by the seat of your pants.
And a question from Mr. Craig Mullins. What URL do you send links to on your Google My Business page? What URL do you use to send traffic to the GMB page?
Whatever link you can get. They've got multiple. I mean, hit them all, in my opinion.
Google ignores their direct
link. You've got the biz link. You've got the actual URL that's in the GMB, everything, and you can get a different Google share link by taking a share link, putting it in the browser, hitting enter, and then clicking share again. You'll get a different link to that too. So if you're doing a massive amount of link building, or you want to mix those in with your other link building, you can link to all of those. So
yeah.
Keep it mixed.
So Google does ignore directives, right? Like a canonical, they will crawl everything. Just because they're not indexing it, they are crawling it. And that just because it's not in the index, even though I talked about making sure your links are in the index, because this is an exception to their rules, they will crawl shit that they don't have in their index and attribute it, because they want to know. It's like their own properties. They know what you're doing on their properties, whether you're putting it in there. They know what you're doing on any property because of Google Fonts and other things. So they have this data, and they do use this data. There's no question they use the data. So you definitely just want to do as much as you can to show Google as much as possible about your link building campaigns. And that also means when you're doing link building, if you control the page that you're building a link on, you're optimizing that like it's your freaking money page, because you know, your anchor text pointing out of your page is going to help both pages rank. It's not just going to help one page rank. It's going to help the page that has the link.
You mentioned 2.0s earlier, Mike. If you really want to do 2.0s, I don't do as much aside from entity building anymore. But if you want to use 2.0s, I saw a question, how do I do it, you know, for free, or what's the best way to do it? You know, you can build 2.0s, but like Mike said, you optimize them with solid on page, get them ranking, and then link over, and then you can tier to those. And when I tier, I link direct and I link to the tiers as well. So, but yeah, optimize the crap out of it and then try and get it.
When you think about the URLs that the question's about, so say we already talked about how it's what the page that's talking about the page that is ranking you that is about, right? So if they're not indexing this page, but they are indexing the page that's on the second tier, and say this is a Google property, right? Boom, they're coming through, they see what this page is optimized like, they come through here, they see what that page is optimized like, and then they hit your page. So this data here, this is still a part of their link graph, right? So they know this connection, they want to see this relevancy, and it's going to make a difference for you. So you definitely want to use the most beneficial URLs, but especially if it's a Google property, they're going to know you're doing it.
Yeah.
That also means don't get too crazy with it and get yourself in trouble.
Yep, makes sense. Look into the sky. If I built a bunch of guest posts or niche edits 4 months ago, could I build tier 2 links to them all now today at the same time?
Yes, absolutely. You absolutely can. Like that's something that people actually forget.
Oh, hell yeah.
They can hit their current links right now, especially if you've got a lot of like high authority links. Some people already have, like some real businesses have like Forbes links, huge authority links going to their site. And if you've not built tiered links to them right now, you're going to want to definitely start mixing that in straight away.
So right, when Penguin came out, one thing I would do all the time, and I still do this all the time if I get a new campaign, is I'm going to come through, look at what's existing in the profile, what's existing in the link profile. I'm always going to hit the links with links, always, because now you're not adjusting the freaking. If you're new, say there's been an SEO on a campaign, and you don't know what they've done, right? Well, now you can look at what's there for that tier 1, and you can start to strengthen the shit they did and make it better. And now you'll start to push it up without showing anything that you're doing directly at the site. So you're not skewing any optimization necessarily on page or for the first tier of the profile to Google. You're doing it underneath it, and it will pull you up.
Surely that would be the first thing that any person with an ounce of sense would do if they inherited a project. You know, you've got some guys saying, I've been with this SEO agency for a few years. You know, I'm coming to you now. But one of the first things you would do is look at that and go, right, fuck this. I'm going to make what's there better already. Low cost and the easiest thing to do. So
money. Yes, that's the key. Money. You're saving money.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny me saying this as a link seller, but I'm not always the biggest fan of building tier one links, right? I really want to keep things as low as possible, as natural as possible. The more links you build, the more mistakes you can make, more problems you can have. That's pretty much the rule of thumb with it. So you want to make sure that, especially if you're quite inexperienced, try and don't just focus on hitting tons and tons of tier 1 links. You want to take a look at what you've currently got, what you're going to be building, and focus on just building a bit less, but really tiering to those links, making those links a lot better, trying to rank those sites as well, making those links massively more powerful themselves, and that'll do a hell of a lot for you.
So Yaman, yeah, exactly. So that's a good question. So you're going to have a current profile, and say you're kind of stuck at the bottom of page 1, popping back and on and off on page 1 and 2, right? Well, there's a trust there. You've got a freaking good thing going on because you're almost there. But one way to get the rest of the way, or part of the rest of the way there, went to like up to about 6 or so, in my opinion, is to go through and start, grab some tiered stuff off of Gary or whatever, and push what you've got and see if that does it for you before you start modifying the formula that's already pushing you up to the top.
Right.
directly.
Definitely, especially on inner pages, like really important to consider that first.
So, guys, obviously we've been talking. We've covered quite a lot of stuff on link building, but we want some of the juicy stuff. What is the dirtiest, most devious link building thing you've ever come across, Mike? And I'll ask that to everyone else. What is the dirtiest trick you've ever seen anyone play when it comes to link building, or the most creative, well thought out?
I used to link trade and then cloak out the trade so it looked like a one-way link. So there you go.
Nice trick. Brad?
I mean, my favorite, it's not really super black hat or anything, is going out and grabbing an extremely relevant tier 1. So I'll go grab EDs in expired domains in the industry. So if I'm trying to rank a lawyer client, I'll go grab 3, 4, 5 of these sites, set them up on different IPs, link to them, and then that's where my tier 1 comes into play. Then you can come behind that. But I mean, it's nothing really exciting. It's not as fun as Mike's cloaking stuff, but yeah, that's it.
But that's much easier, and I've ranked way more with that tactic than the one I mentioned. So
yeah, that sometimes the simple things work, but Gary,
sure.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always just been a fan of kind of scale and the things that's easiest to scale. So I've never done any mad strategies. I think the best one I've done was the one that you shared about a year ago on stage and kind of ruined it for everyone, Craig, was the lawyer trick, was reaching out.
Yeah, that was pretty badass.
Doing the image. But basically, you can do it. Those of you who don't know it, I'm not going to take full credit for this because it was Craig that originally told me. Whether it was Craig that came up with it, that's another discussion. But it was Craig that told me the trick anyway. But essentially, you set up a lawyer site. I've actually done this for a few old affiliate sites just for a bit of fun.
It works.
I honestly find now that I just keep things simple. I just build guest posts, niche edits, do some PBNs, tiered links. I keep it really simple. I don't do many mad strategies like this anymore. I like things that can scale. But what you can do is you can essentially make a lawyer website, reach out to another website which has an image on there. You can essentially say that image is my copyright or my client's copyright as the law firm, and the site will usually crap itself, or the owner of the site will usually crap itself, and they'll give you credit underneath that image and send a free link over to you. Basically, you can. I mean, I've done this on. I'm not going to say the site, but one editorial site was like a DR92. And it worked. I just reached out to the editor and did that exact thing. They crapped themselves and they put a link on there. So it can work for some really
It works very well because I have been sued multiple times and spent $10,000 to avoid court multiple times to not be sued over images. So people jump on it quickly. We do not endorse it. I'll say that right now.
Absolutely not. No.
Is after talking about that at various different events, I have been told by lawyers that you can be put in jail and lawyers will actively go after you for impersonating a lawyer. So do be very
careful how you do it.
What you're doing. But so that one, and Gary, I can't believe you're not even giving me full credit for it. You gave me a little bit of credit, but
I can't give you full credit. Come on.
So I would rather be building than anchor text specific footer links. I'd rather be building clusters of relevant content driven pages. That's just my opinion.
Also, be careful with if you have a larger site or a site that's continuously publishing, you're going to continue to build those internal links. So exact match anchor can be dangerous at times.
It will eat you up. You're not Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And what about anchor density? Do you guys go for that, or how much of that stuff are you mixing up?
Like I said, I build only a small percentage of the links to a page, so I don't even have to worry about it because the natural.
So URL, title, maybe one exact match if you feel like you need it, and then a general. So I mean, if you're building 3 or 4 links, there's not a lot of options you have.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on how many links you're building to the page. I don't want to blow smoke up my own horn again, but on my blog, there's a 10-minute video where I talk about this exact topic again. But I mean, like most pages, you should be doing a low amount of links, as Mike said, so you shouldn't need to worry about that. Just use some fairly pushy, a natural anchor in there, and just mix it up, and you'll be absolutely fine. It's when you come in there and start hitting 10 exact match anchors in your first month, that's when the page is never going to rank. So just keep it natural, and you'll not need to worry about that.
A lot of people worry too much about those shitty little things.
Yeah, they don't build any links because they're sitting worried about what anchor text to build.
Yeah,
I did that for a while.
That.
I was scared as shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're building things right now. We're talking about things that look natural. And if you're doing things that are just what happens naturally on the web, you don't have to worry about it if you're not out there with a tool that's freaking building you thousands of links and you're going to sit here and worry about these percentages. It's going to happen naturally for you. And it's better to let Google optimize your freaking site than for you to do it, believe me.
Yeah. And Brad and Mike, prior to coming on air today, we had a quick discussion about something cool that you guys were doing where you've seen that kind of 100% growth. Do we want to share more on that just now? Or
we can. That screenshot that you got shot, Brad.
Oh, yeah. Let me, how do I throw that over to you? It's in Messenger. One sec.
I don't know if we can share it, but
screen.
Share screen.
He's got his favorite website up. He can't.
Which one? No, I've got to figure out who it was. So
I might have it from you. But so basically, well,
if you've got that, Mike, and you can show it.
Yeah, you want to talk about it while I look for it, dude, and I'll take it real quick.
Yeah, so basically last week we mentioned entities on the site. So I had quite a few people reach out to me after the broadcast, and one of them was about specifically the entities, and does it really work? I said, yeah, that's the first thing I do. And he was like, okay, I've got all this other crap built out to the site, so I'm going to start to try and do some local entity stuff. I said, okay, cool. So within 48 hours, he sent me a screenshot, and the in Search Console, it just went through the roof. It was awesome.
Can you see that? Because it's on my phone, actually. You guys see it?
Yeah.
Let me go back.
Traffic boner.
Traffic boner.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was cool. Something free that we shared on here, and it massively helped one of the viewers. It was pretty awesome. Maybe we have a show that we go completely into entities. I'd like to go completely into on page at some point. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff we could cover in the very near future.
Now, over the next few weeks or months, we will every week go into a different topic. Obviously, today's link building. We go into entities next week or whatever you guys want to see out there. But before we do go, make sure, guys, that, and I'm going to put it in the chat just now, that if you want to be in with a chance of winning a year's free license to SEO Autopilot, you do sign up. Just put your name in there because we will be selecting someone from that list to give them a prize of a free lifetime license for that tool, which does a lot of automated link building and Web 2.0 stuff. So make sure that you do put yourself in the mix and add yourself to the list. Guys, are you wanting to get any more people into your NFG plugin, the secret plugin you guys have got?
If they want to jump in there, they're more than welcome to. Like we said, it does some of the link building that you need to do. It doesn't do all of it, but it will build the kind of tiered structure we're talking about, where it's going to link to your social, it's going to link to all that. Yeah. Do other things to your stuff too. So that's, if you want to jump there, that's NFG Secret.
NFGsecret.com if anyone's interested in it.
Yeah, NFG.
Kind of a webinar that we did for our paid members, but we're putting it out to everyone for free. And then after that, we will send you some advanced usage and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. It's working for people.
Don't miss it, guys. There's always...
Go jump on it. It's good stuff. And confirm.
For anyone who does want to buy links and wants to do what Brad and Mike do, where they come up with a strategy and just outsource that stuff rather than absorbing all the cost of staff and everything else and just working a hell of a lot smarter, then you can go to Gary at getmelinks.com. He is a top vendor across the world, has incredible amounts of case studies and everything else. And as I say, not just because he's here, he does do a good, solid job, and I'm sure the other guys can vouch for that. But we will be back next week. Myself, Mike, Brad, and we will What do we want to talk about next week, guys?
Is Angel still in that crowd? Is Fletch still in that crowd? No, honestly, entities work. Entities are damn important. So, we might as well go there. And we'll keep dangling cloaking and over everybody.
Yeah. So, entities next week. And that is the NFG secret is the plugin for the guy who was asking about the plugin. And make sure that you guys do like and subscribe the channel. We want to make sure we bring as much of this value to you as we possibly can. So we will catch you all again next week. And who do you want as a guest for next week, actually, guys, before we go? Who is the killer on?
Is Angel doing anything right now? Can we pull him on?
Angel, are you there?
We'll try and get him on.
Yeah,
we'll try and get Angel Cruz on.
Yeah, we'll shoot for Angel.
If it's going to be entities, he's solid. Yeah,
we'll do that. So, hopefully we'll get Angel on. We will let you know closer to the time, but we will be back at the same time next week, and we will catch you all then. And in the meantime, take it easy.
Later, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.